Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 10 superpowers that all empathic people have. The reason I'm doing this video on the superpowers of empathic people is because of this. Because most empathic people that I've talked to don't like being so sensitive. In a sense, many of them even resent being so cracked open in this crazy, dark world that we all find ourselves dwelling in. And this used to be me. I used to have drug addiction. I used to have a lot of problems with social anxiety and insecurity. And I used to really just close myself off from the world and also resent my gifts of being open, like all of you. That's all it is, just open. One day I finally decided to embrace it and to see this blessing as a blessing and not a curse. And it's allowed me to really transform the way I go through life as a sensitive person. And I really have changed on all levels because of this perspective shift. So this video is going to highlight 10, not just decent qualities, but superpowers that all of you empathic people have. And number 6 is especially relevant and important right now at this unique time in history. Number 1, you are an amazing listener. Tell me if I'm wrong, I bet you have noticed that you've had people sort of flock to you, and when they get into your presence, even if they don't know you very well, they will just start spilling out personal details of their life, just spewing out their entire life story. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I don't like when people do that. I leave the situation feeling drained. But those people leave feeling uplifted and awesome. And you probably didn't even have to say anything. And I'll tell you why people do that. It's because most people are not used to being listened to so attentively, so consciously, so presently, so genuinely. But people come to you because they can just sense with their own little dormant empathic abilities they have that, you know what, this person is really listening to me. I finally, for the first time maybe in my life, feel heard and validated. And that is a superpower, my friend. That is a beautiful thing that you can't even help yourself from doing. I've had so many people reach out to me, Victor, say, hey, Victor, how do I stop these energy vampires? How do I not listen so empathically? And I try to help them, but it's hard. That's who you are. You're sensitive. You want to give someone your full, undivided attention and energy because that's who you are. That's a blessing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Number 2 is you're highly intuitive. Downright, potentially, for a lot of you, psychic. Being intuitive, I don't think really gets enough attention and credit. Because when you're intuitive, you can make extremely wise, beneficial decisions for yourself and other people in the precise moments where the opportunity to seize the day arises. You don't have to rely on the limitations of your analytical mind to try to experiment through life, through trial and error, to make progress and to do good things in the world. You have an intuition, you have a little voice. That little voice will whisper to you in many different types of ways. Some of you just hear a voice. Some of you just know things. You have a knowing. Some of you feel it, you vibe it out. But nonetheless, when you need to make an ideal move for yourself, you know it. When someone enters your life that on the surface seems perfect and attractive and a match, you'll know if they're not. You have this beautiful intuition, and sometimes that can be even perceived as a drawback because you tend to know everybody's truths. And that's not always something that it's fun to be cognizant about when you can be in a room with your friends and family and just kind of know the truth of everybody, know how they really feel about you. And a lot of times, as you know, that's contradictory to how they behave in front of you. When you can tell people are just being inauthentic, and that can be challenging. But nonetheless, it's better to be Better to be wise and hip to what's really going on than to be in the clouds. Number 3, somewhat similar, is you have a built-in, fail-safe, human BS detector. You can smell a lie 10,000 miles away, across the world, over the seas. You can tell when someone's lying effortlessly. And a lot of times you don't know how you know someone's lying, but you can just sort of get a sense when someone's behavior is not in sync with how they're actually feeling and thinking. And you can catch that. There's a bit of a disconnect that tends to go unnoticed by most people, but you can sort of psychically pick up on that. Most of you probably haven't ever read a book about how to spot a liar. Well, they cover their face, they don't look around, they don't look at you in the eye. None of that is necessary. You just know. And this, of course, comes in handy when you're doing negotiations, when you're buying a house, you're buying a car, you're negotiating in any situation. You'll always be able to really know where the other person stands. So you won't be one to make silly, make a lot of mistakes in that regard within these human social sort of interactions. You can smell BS a mile away, and that's a huge blessing in this world, especially where people tend to lie a lot. Number 4 is you're highly considerate and mindful of other people. And most people live in their own little worlds with their own little agendas and are pleasantly surprised when an empathic person comes into their life and does a genuine gesture that they're just not used to seeing. It makes other people, I think, reevaluate their perspective on human beings and know that not all people suck, essentially. And I'll give an example. I was out to eat the other day with my best friend Aaron Dowdy and my wife Patty. We spent the whole day together. We had an amazing day. We were finally going out to one of our favorite restaurants called the Flower Child. And my friend Aaron, he's got this weird thing where he needs to sit on the outskirts of a restaurant. Like, he needs to be able to see everything that's going on. But the particular table in the corner where Aaron preferred that we received had a sort of a situation where he would have ended up sitting by my wife Patty, which is fine. I don't care. We're all good friends. But he was almost, he could pick up on the fact that I would prefer to sit with Patty. But Patty was on the outskirts where Aaron liked. So Aaron, just because he was mindful, because he was really considerate, because he was willing to put himself at odds to be nice to me, he just said, you know what, Vic, I'm gonna get up and you sit there. I think we'll all feel better. And he sat with his back to the whole restaurant, which I know he hates, but because he was mindful and considerate, and he's a very empathic person, he chose to do that. Not a single one of you would have done anything differently, because everyone listening to a video like this, of course, is empathic and does have that same degree of that intuition, that mindfulness, and then also we use it in a very morally sound, ethical way. And it's a beautiful thing. So the most important thing, one little quick little example before I move on. Have you ever noticed that most people who are like checkout clerks at stores seem to hate life and seem to hate their job and oftentimes are in kind of a miserable mood? You can't blame them, dealing with the general public all day. But you know what I try to do, and I bet a lot of you do as well, is I try to be really nice to them and just smile and say, hey, how are you doing? And I mean it when I say that. And I will watch their face light up. I will watch their energy change, and I can just see what's going on. I can see that they're like, you know what? That was so nice of this young man. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I know you guys are like that too. But my point is, it takes one smile, one genuine empathic smile to truly brighten up another human being's entire day. And that is a superpower if I've ever heard of one. Number 5 is empathic people tend to create really, really great art. Because of their oversensitivity, they can discern when they're in the flow state. You all know what the flow state is, right? It's when you're really on point, like Michael Jordan when he's playing basketball. People like that, that's the flow state. When you're Johnny on the spot, you're flowing through life. You feel like The words are just kind of coming to you. The art is just pouring out of you effortlessly, like you're just this conduit, which you are. Empathic people are able to more often, not only get into this flow state when they're creating, but they're able to recognize it and take advantage of the flow state and really pour out their higher selves genius onto the canvas or recorded musically, or however you decide or choose or enjoy expressing your art. A lot of the world's great artists and great minds were extremely insensitive, empathic people. Number 6, perhaps the most important quality and attribute of all that's extremely relevant at this time on earth right now. I wrote down, it's just 2 words. Healing hands. What I mean by that, it's a metaphor for the fact that you empathic folks are natural born healers. You came here to the world to help heal, to help transform, to help uplift, and to help empower individuals, people. And because of your sensitivity, again, you can tap in to your spirit, to your spirit's qualities, to like your soul's wisdom and power. You are a natural at channeling that into the physical reality, transmitting that aura, that vibe, that energy to people. You came to help heal and uplift and empower in some way, shape, or form. I know every single one of you empathic people are sensitive enough to be aware of your own innate need to help, to heal, to empower. That is what you came to do, especially right now. And let's be honest, look around at the world. The world needs it. The people need it. The planet needs it. The animals need it. Every living thing in this creature needs some higher frequency energy to be, bestowed upon it through you, the empathic conduit, the natural healer. Number 7, I wrote down, doing the right thing even when it's difficult. That's a superpower. We need to live by example. If we're going to change the world, we need to be the example, be the change we wish to see in the world. And I came up with a personal example. Again, this is not just to kind of like lift me up. I'm sure any of you would have done the exact same thing in this exact situation, but it's a perfect example. And I just wanted to share it because it's just so fitting. Anyways, I was 21 years old. I was a personal trainer, and I had this boss. His name was Bruce. No one liked Bruce. I didn't mind him personally. I thought he was fine. Just had some issues. Bruce was like a domineering sort of like a guy who never really dealt with his childhood issues, and it kind of came out in the way he bossed people, okay? Well, anyway, after about a year working there, Bruce gave everyone a raise. And he said, here's your 50-cent raise, everybody. Oh, thanks, Bruce, wonderful. But come to find out, he accidentally gave everyone a $1.50 raise. And you could tell it was a mistake. He didn't intend to. The economy was tough at that time. And this other trainer I was talking to, and he was like, hey, Victor. His name was Victor, ironically, too. So the 2 Victors were chatting, and Victor said to Victor, he said, hey, why don't we not tell Bruce about this? Let's just keep this between us. And when I heard Victor number 2 say that, I was so like perplexed, because to me, it was extremely obvious that I was not going to take this man's money, even though I could have used it at the time, because that's just not right. So, of course, I told Bruce, I said, hey, man, you messed up, bro. Be careful. And we didn't get the raise, but that was the right thing to do. It was tempting. I could have justified it like everybody else. They, well, Bruce is like this. He's not a good guy. It's his mistake. Blah, blah, blah. We work hard. No, I knew in my heart that was not the right thing to do. And I acted in alignment with what did feel right to me. And being empathic, and I know you know this too, it's very difficult for us to act out of alignment, not congruent with what we feel is like the righteous and the right way to go about life. It feels heavy. It feels disorienting almost to lie, to act out of alignment with our own integrity, right? And that's a blessing. That's a bit, maybe you feel like, well, It's so hard to stay on track in life with all these temptations, luring me astray. No, that's what we need. We came to be the examples, and we came in sensitive enough to be able to easily discern when we are not being examples, when we are not living out of our integrity. So it makes it real obvious for us because of the sensitivity, and therefore we can be a shining example. Empathic people are also very authentic. It's very difficult to be authentic. It's very hard to be oneself. In fact, I think Ralph Waldo Emerson said the hardest thing for a person to do is to be themselves in a world that is constantly trying to change them. But here's the thing. Empathic people can feel like an internal conflict that's uncomfortable and obvious when they're acting or behaving in an unauthentic way. When they're putting on the mask and playing the character and the role, it's hard and heavy and unpleasant for them to do so. So most empathic people are either very authentic or they're very quiet because they would prefer not to say anything at all than to say something without depth or substance that they're not really truly aligned with on all levels. Or they're suffering all the time. It's hard. That mask for empathic people is very heavy. Now, why is it a superpower? Well, it's a huge superpower because that's like the hardest thing, as Emerson said, to do in the world is to be oneself. Well, guess what happens when there's somebody out there who is themselves, standing firm in who they truly are, love them or hate them or her? It's inspiring. It's inspiring for me. What initially inspired me was rock and roll artists, because they would just say things that the lyrics sometimes would say something like controversial or against the grain, but they would say it, they would sing it with such soul and such passion. It made me think, yes. It motivated me, inspired me to be more of myself, and that's the effect you have on other people. Number 9, you have an easy time navigating the spiritual path you're on. You're good at transformation in all senses of the word. Right now, tell me if I'm wrong, you're going through a transformation. You're going through a shift in consciousness, a spiritual awakening. And you're naturally good at navigating it. Even though most of you don't think so, I didn't think so, and I fumble all the time. But comparatively speaking to most people who aren't even aware that there's this potential right now on the planet to just elevate their consciousness, comparatively speaking, you're a natural. You're awesome at it. You came not only to heal and to spread your art, spread your light and be an example, you came to show people it's possible. A lot of empathic people chose purposely difficult life situations, challenging parents, oppressive situations, just to show those in their little circle that, one can elevate themselves out of it when they tune into themselves and listen to their heart, which guides the empathic person a bit more loudly than most. That is the superpower we need right now, is to show human beings, to empower them and let them know everybody can do this. We're all equal. We're all empathic to varying degrees. This word is almost a temporary thing, only because so much of humanity is closed off from who they really are that we have this way of labeling human being. But we're all the same thing. Empathic people are just a bit more aware of who they are and what they're capable of, and what they're capable of is spreading light, spreading the example that one can take charge of their life, empower themselves, and live a happy existence. And that is such a powerful, beautiful thing to represent. Number 10, fortunately, empathic people are good at remaining humble. I only use the word empathic people not to create a segregated group of the elite. No, it's because I know people who are going through this shift right now, people who are feeling sensitive, temporarily might sort of relate with information that is on the topic of empathic people. But let's be humble here. It's a word. As I said, it means nothing. It's just a label, and everybody has the potential to be empathic. We are all empathic. And the nice thing about empathic people, sort of paradoxically, is that we can tell when we're being egoic. We can tell when our ego is getting inflated. And just as it doesn't feel good to act out of alignment with our own integrity, it doesn't feel right. It feels heavy and phony when we are inflated. So the empathic person usually is pretty good at keeping themselves in check and staying humble. And also empathic people are sensitive enough to not only recognize the darkness and struggles within other people, but also themselves. Okay, my friends, I hope you got a positive message out of this video and are able to now imbue your sensitivity with a positive meaning and have positive connotations, which is the way I see it. And it's totally transformed the way I relate with life. I no longer resist my sensitivity, which I did heavily in the past. I was a heroin addict. I had tons of social anxiety. I never wanted to leave the house. I was miserable. I cursed at my sensitivity. But eventually things happened in my life and I finally decided I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to see it as the blessing that it truly is. Okay, my friends, I'm gonna bounce. I hope you enjoyed this video. You all have an amazing day. Real quick, if you're brand new to my channel, I do offer everyone a free guided meditation. It's a meditation that will help you come into the awareness that you have the ability to heal yourself and realign your energy all by yourself. It's a guided meditation, but again, it's the attempt to help you understand what you can do for yourself. It's totally free. I channeled it just like this video. You can check it out down below in the description box or the top comment that's pinned. You all have an amazing day. It's a blessing and an honor to have such an awesome and considerate and mindful and empathic audience such as yourselves. Thank you for your love, your support, your blessings, your likes, your comments, your emails, your shares, etc. It means the world to me. Thank you. Namaste.